Ndenge Maradona, ndenge ndichidisha, ndichipasa, ndichigona. Inga mnozviziva anomakwane bhora. Ndenge vachizama kundisendera magora tumahora. Asi zvinhu zvatinoona mnazamora.
UB40 is possibly one of the few artists that I've done or shows that I've done that I'm actually a fan of.
Yeah.
So I'm actually a
like you got there.
Like I'm a UB40 fan.
Yeah.
So this is one of the very few acts that I've done that I'm a fan of. Because usually the music that I like is not the music that I would produce live productions. Because it's very left. You know, we don't have a huge market for
that sort of
the type of music that I actually personally enjoy.
Yeah.
So for me, this was one of those shows where I actually liked the music. It's like UB40.
Yeah. It's actually funny. We have a mutual friend who tells a story about how the first time they met you, you said, "I'm gonna bring UB40 to Zim," and that's a couple of years ago. How long have you been planning?
That's about 15 years ago.
15 years ago.
So I watched them. I was part of the show that they did in Joburg. So after having obviously listened to the music and then watching them for the first time in South Africa, I was like, hey, one day it'll be good, one day it'll be good. But then at the time it wasn't, it was something that you just think of and you just dream of and you don't really think that you do it.
Yeah.
But then 2019 is actually when we actively started planning this particular show that just happened. So it's been since 2019 and then we only did it in the last week.
But are they very expensive, like compared to those nowadays artists?
Cost-wise for artists, for me, is not an issue.
Okay.
I don't look at, say, how much does an artist cost? Do I want to bring them in or is it about money? Do you get what I mean? But it's more to do with, I think if the dream is big enough, the facts don't matter. Including financial facts. And if you have a dream, and if you have a dream to have Barack Obama sitting in this chair right now.
I do.
Exactly.
Maybe not Obama.
I think, but it will happen. There's a reason why it can't happen. Absolutely zero reason. And financial obstructions should never be the issue. Never should be the reason why you can't. So we actually dream smaller because we're thinking, who can I afford? Or is the person going to say yes to that interview? Do you know what I mean?
I did. But and it's interesting, right? Because and we'll get to talk about like the side of your life where you were in artist management. But very often when you are a promoter as opposed to an artist, you think about things in the business sense. Yeah. So when we talk about bringing UB40, the reason why Jason's first question is, but Junutamari is immediately we're like, okay, so we can get 5,000 people into this venue, we can charge them $10 minimum, 50,000, and then this and that, right? But obviously the intricacies of that are a lot more than just those simple figures.
Yeah.
But does it make commercial sense? Like, is it something that you're like, people talk about Drake. And as soon as I came back from the UB40 show, I was there, I had an incredible time. Yeah. As soon as I got back, I was like, if anyone's going to bring Drake to Zimbabwe, I need to start talking to Walter about bringing Drake. Yeah. Could you make that a commercially viable thing, or is this a point where you're like, some people?
For me, live productions or doing shows is my way of getting my creative juices going.
Yeah.
So that is more what's in front than it is about like, does it make financial sense?
Okay.
Does it make commercial sense?
Yeah.
So that's why I would do a UB40. I'm not doing UB40 because they're big.
Yeah.
I'm not doing UB40 because it makes me money. I'm doing UB40 because creatively I get to get my creative.
Yeah, you get to do
what I want. I'm a musician, I'm a bass player. I don't play anymore. Because
we'll talk about authentic just now.
Yeah. but I'm just So because I had to make a decision between me performing and playing, and me producing live shows. So I still have an urge to create as a creative. So instead of me being in the studio or me on stage performing, I'm doing the live productions. So I'm just trying to balance out, what makes me. So yes, there's then the financial aspect of it. Okay, is it profitable? Does it make sense? Does it make business sense to do this particular show with this particular artist?
Yeah.
But for me, it's more about, do I actually want to do this show with this particular artist? If I answer yes to that, then how do we pay for it?
Yeah.
Does the money come back, or are we just putting money into the ground and we're playing the long game? That type of thing. So yeah.
And so with you have when I was part of Jacaranda, I was part of your team last year when you were working on it. And I saw so many things that I didn't know existed in that event organizing space. Right? At some point, I don't know if I was overhearing you or it was a separate conversation, but people were talking about security.
Yeah.
And it's not like just, we need security from people, but there's turf wars.
Yeah.
There are people who are like, we need to, we also need to be hired to do this gig.
Yeah.
If we're not hired to do this gig, then we're going to disrupt it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people have an appreciation of, that side of it or how much it takes on that side. And then now you have people like with the UB41 where people come and say, oh no, it's not UB40. If you do 5 minutes of research, you're gonna find out that this is UB40.
Yeah.
But how do you deal with that? And is that a threat at the time?
So I think that's a two-pronged question.
Yeah.
The back end of it, and then also how do you deal with negative publicity.
Yeah.
The back end of events, I would say for you to understand and fully appreciate what goes into an event is to actually start doing events, but on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
So if you start doing events on maybe a big scale and you haven't gone through a situation where you need 2 security people, 3 security people, to a case where you need 100 security people, which is what we had for you before.
Yeah.
With 100 strong people
yeah.
just for security alone. You need to understand it on a small scale, then you scale it up.
Yeah. And
then that's the easiest way of now getting to understand the nuts and bolts behind any event.
Yeah.
And events are not really, or for me, they're not as complicated as they seem, but it's like any job, it's like anything that needs proper planning.
Yeah.
So the key, I guess, is to not wake up on a Monday and say, I want to do a gig on a Friday. That's the worst thing you can do, especially when it comes to events.
Yeah.
It's something that you need to think carefully about and commit to it. Once you commit to it, then you give yourself enough time for the idea to grow and for you to put everything that needs to be put in place. Yeah, with proper planning, just time. So don't rush it. And some people would okay, because so and so is hot right now, I need to be the guy that brings them to Zimbabwe first.
Yeah.
So that usually is what pushes people to failure.
Yeah.
Because you want to bring in the hot act. And you want to be the guy that is brought in. Who is going today?
Which makes sense because I think someone brought Rainbow anyone so. And I was asking people, my machine can do the king can. One so, but means a black show check the text to last.
Yeah.
Who was that one?
So it's tricky because then from that perspective, then you're just wanting to be part of the trending situation in entertainment. So then you're gonna bring in an artist because they're trending. Yeah. And you don't even know their performance, what is it like. You've never even seen them perform, but you've heard their recorded stuff. So recorded music and live performance is 2 totally different things. I personally prefer working with artists and musicians that have full-on bands and stuff like that. Yes, we do have every now and then artists that come with we've never really done a show that is purely backtrack. I hate backtracks.
Oh, you'd rather have a band.
I hate backtracks with a passion. So
that's the staple of the country.
that's why you don't.
We were talking.
That's why you don't see me booking any acts that use backing tracks. So I don't, as you can see, God is agreeing.
It's like, yeah, no.
So I'm not a fan of backtracks.
Yeah.
So even in the hip hop scene, and a lot of guys also, they don't even see it. We do have Zim hip hop. We do have urban artists that have very good, well-produced stuff from the studio.
Yeah.
But then they don't go the step further of working on live performances of those same tracks.
Yeah.
So we've got very good songs, we've got very good artists that we sing along to on radio, in the club, wherever. But when it comes to performing those songs, a lot of the artists are not putting time into perfecting how you present those songs to a live audience.
Yeah.
They've mastered how to present songs to a digital audience, which is basically on your phone, on streaming, on radio, or whatever.
Yeah.
Great. I think we've done a brilliant job. Some of our producers in Zim are actually ranked amongst the best in the world.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. But then the artists themselves haven't done, like I said, they haven't done enough to then perfect how they present the songs to a live audience. Because a live audience has got different demands than a digital audience. So when you're listening to the song and you're in your car, your mindset and what's going on completely different than when you've actually gone out
to get an experience.
You understand? So that's a different thing altogether. The backing track now, what it does is it limits you to moving in the spirit on stage, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Because you also need to read the audience and be able to read the room and say, our song is 3 minutes long, but we're gonna go a bit longer. We're gonna give it a minute longer because you can see where the crowd is going and you wanna take it a bit further and you wanna do certain things.
Do you know who's a great example of that? And I watched her perform for the first time at Jacaranda, Janet Manu.
Yeah.
You know, I left that performance. So Jacaranda is generally themed.
Yeah.
Like you have different feels for the different days. And on that Sunday, it's a very calm vibe.
Yeah.
You know, people are sitting, it's camping chairs all over the place. And there's no congregation. People are really
and it's gospel.
It's gospel, right? So we want to experience that. And do you know the first person that got everyone to get out of their seats was Janet?
Yeah.
And I'd never watched her perform. And I remember leaving and I was talking to Arnold. And I was like, it almost feels like Janet writes her music with the performance in mind.
Yeah.
Because by the time that performance comes together, it's like the extended bridge or the extended chorus, and it's that was.
She's amazing because I think she's my favorite artist in Zimbabwe right now. Her and Nasibo. Nasibo performed in Jacaranda as well last year, but she performed on Saturday. So those two are my favorite artists right now, and they have mastered the art of live performance. And they definitely know how to move the crowd. And a lot of people were questioning why I would put Janet Manua on a secular platform. But gospel music is entertainment, and I think that my history in music started in the church. So I know very well what I was doing, and I knew the kind of product that Janet is, and the kind of music that she does, and I knew a lot of people may know of Janet, they may not, that are not in the Christian circles or that don't frequent church or go to her concerts, but I knew if they watched her live, they'll be able to love what she does. So yes, to go further to that, to answer that other question, Kuti, digital, backing track, yes, it makes a huge difference. There's some people that you actually find, Kuti, they're actually so much better live than they are, recorded. They're performing artists than they are studio performing artists. So, and some of these artists in Zimbabwe actually never get to discover who they really are as performing artists because they don't explore that side. They think they do because they will just have a DJ at the back and they'll just do what they do.
And it's really difficult. So you get a stage like Jacaranda. You're not going onto the Jacaranda stage with a backing
So
track.
basically, if you have a backing track, don't even call me.
Let's not even have that.
We're not gonna have the conversation.
But very often, I think for the normal performance, for your performance at a nightclub somewhere or a normal show, backtracks are what people use, right? And
but it's more because of money as well.
I was about to say, right, because it costs more for you to put a band together to practice and then go out there, and then you're going to have to charge $200 or $300 more on your fee. And that might make you less competitive in certain markets.
So you find with some people book artists and Watoti come with a backing track because they know Guti. If an artist is charging $100, if they say come with a backing track, it's going to be $50.
Yeah.
So the person that's booking you also has a part to play. Where some of the artists, we can't really blame them too much because they know Guti. You know, there are some places where the promoter or someone who wants them to perform is going to book them based on the fact that they've cut the costs.
Of course.
Because now it's half as compared to them coming with a certain, 3, 4, 5 more people.
Yeah.
As
opposed to just me and my DJ. Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So, but I guess it also depends on platform. So what I would urge artists then is to have a situation where you rehearse, like at 3 different versions of your live performances. So you can have you and your DJ, and then you can have an acoustic set, and then you can have a full band set. So acoustic version can possibly not have a DJ, but it's you and one other person. But that other person is also playing a lead instrument, either keys or guitar. But you can still be able to deliver a performance that gives people that wow factor.
And like
the whole reason why I personally don't like the first option, which is DJ, is it's rigid. When that track ends on 3 minutes 45 seconds,
it's over.
That's the end of that song. You can't loop it, and the musician can't even do a cappella as well. You know what I mean? So even if you want to, you can't.
Yeah.
You understand? But then if you have an acoustic set where it's someone on keys or on a guitar or something like that, then you can possibly kind of like play around with that. Full band, that's a different story altogether, But we've seen some hip hop artists in Zim that have come from elsewhere, that have come with backing tracks. And a lot of people complain, but if you see those same acts elsewhere,
they have a full
band. It's a totally different experience. Example, Casper.
Yeah.
I'm not a hip hop head, you know this.
Yeah.
I don't understand hip hop from Dabo. But I love Casper's performances.
Yeah.
And every time he's performing, I've watched him once here perform in Zim. I was like, oh my God. And then I've watched him plenty of times in South Africa, and he comes with a full band.
Yeah.
Full production, boss.
So I think it was the end of 2019 going into 2020, or maybe 2018 going to 2019, I don't remember. But they have a Music is King concert that they have on New Year's Eve in Joburg. And Burna Boy was supposed to come, so I think it was the end of 2018 going to 2019.
Yeah.
Burna Boy was supposed to come to perform. On the day, they announced during the show that Burna Boy wasn't performing. And you can tell, the mood is and they're like, however, Casper's here. This is in South Africa. People went nuts, Walter. People went insane in there.
Because they knew it was going to be fine.
And he came on, and I was like, I cannot believe that everything that I've ever seen at Wingate or all these funny places in Harare were Casper performances. Because you're getting the backing dancers. He has fire machines that no one else has on set. It was completely different, but which also just talking about different artists and performances. For Jacaranda, you're coming up with 20, maybe more artists. How many artists?
Last year with 36.
36 artists.
So every year we'll possibly have the same number because obviously of time. But this year I think we'll probably have about 35, 36.
35, 36.
Over 3 days.
And that's from the 8th to the 10th of October this year.
Yes, yeah.
Incredible.
So it's my birthday, boss, so can I get a free ticket?
No free ticket.
Anyway, on to more serious things. You're trying to decide who you're going with now. and this conversation comes up often, especially on Twitter, because you're always going to disappoint someone.
Yeah.
There's say someone that I want to see on that stage that you're not really no holy care. But so the how is how is that decision making process for you? For who goes onto the stage?
Well, I guess that's where, as you know, from the explanation I had earlier on, that's me being creative now, because every artist that's on the Jacaranda stage or any stage that we do anything through Ngumano show is not an accident. It's usually a very long process of us, you know, coming up with the lineup. So curating that's the magic.
Yeah.
And we've found a way of a formula that works for us to have people in a space between 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock midnight on a Friday, 12 until 12 on a Saturday, 12 until 12 on a Sunday, and to be able to entertain you without you wanting to go home.
Yeah.
We want you to go home at 12. You come at 12, you must go home at 12. And you must, you know, there must never be a time where you think they got to go 2 minutes or they got to go in somewhere else.
Yeah.
You must be entertained. So for you to now be entertained for that long, you know, every hour you're just like, guys, that performance was dope. The next act, it's you have to carefully choose the art. So, and it's not just choosing just because someone is a musician or someone is trending. So I'm not. So a lot of trending artists may get upset with me because I'm not calling them, but I don't book you because you're trending.
Warrior.
You actually Holy Ten alone.
He's a problem.
He's actually a problem. Sorry.
No issues with Holy Ten.
Yeah. Of course, he's a talent.
I absolutely love his work.
Yeah.
But
Like my wine.
Sorry.
But when I'm curating a lineup or an event or whatever, if there is a slot that I know that in this 30 minutes, if we have Holy Ten here, if we have K-Chaps here, if we have Junior Brown here, he's gonna come and give us what we need to reset your mind for you to be able to be in that venue for the next 4 hours. Then we're gonna make the call. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes.
So it has to flow. So Guti, Machani Zambeu, after Mbeu, who's gonna be the next act? We don't just randomly say,
is it gonna be
just because, let's just take.
Do you
understand?
It has to be someone who works with the flow.
With the flow or off it. Is it, what time of the day is it? My drinks. Everything comes into play. Guti, who do you put where?
That slot.
You know what I mean? When you watch Gentleman, you're sober.
So sober.
You understand?
You need it also how it works.
And you're at work. You need it to be sober.
Yeah.
But if you put Janet Manua, as good as she is, at 11 o'clock at Jacaranda on a Saturday night,
no, it's not.
What are you trying to do?
No.
So she's a good act, good platform, wrong time.
Yeah.
So there's a situation you're going to now curating. It's an art as well. You need to understand, okay, this time of the day, what are people doing right now? But 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, Winky would be the guy.
Always.
You understand?
Always.
You can't go wrong. On any stage, anytime, whether it's Jacaranda or whatever, Saturday night, Winky D at 11 o'clock for an hour. You understand? So that's where you just need to understand as well. So you can't put Winky at Jacaranda at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Possibly can. But it's not gonna hit as
which is a good question. Jason says, and I don't do book and I think that's
another thing
with like artists that are on that scale, whether it's Jar Praise or Winky D or Holy Ten or whatever, right? But I think whichever way you look at it, they start to look at more. Than just like, am I performing and are you paying?
Yeah, but also the artists, I think artists get to a point where they also get to respect the stage.
Yeah.
The second stage is where they will know Guti. I've been put at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but I know why I've been put there. I usually don't perform at 3 in the afternoon, but for this particular platform, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And if also they respect the platform and they respect Kuti, if you're booked and you're performing at Bushfire, and they ask you to perform at 3 o'clock, I would understand Kuti. One, you're wanting to take Bushfire as something that you've done, and maybe if they put you at 3 o'clock, you're gonna kill it.
Yeah.
And they will know Kuti they put you in the wrong slot.
Yeah.
Kuti was here with Iowa guys. Next time, you understand? You must put me at the prime time slot. So there's that also situation. So it all depends. And what's going on.
There was a thing that Dion asked something.
Yeah, I'm just like, how best can this Zimbabwean artists improve in their live performance? Because I feel like most of these artists, they don't have that connection with the audience. So if you don't connect with the person you're singing to, if you don't like really engage with them, they'll never listen to you.
I think so. Yeah, live performance. It's a good question, but it goes back to what we spoke about as well in terms of digital setups.
Yeah.
Anytime musicians get on stage and perform, we are listening into their conversation. It's a conversation. So let me explain what that is. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What you just done is you just said, yeah, right?
Yeah.
And you nod your head. And then he does something. And then if there's 4 more people, they're gonna come in and add something to the conversation.
Yeah.
So every time a group of people get on stage to perform, they are having a conversation. They've got something to say.
Yeah.
And we're listening into the conversation as the audience, and we take part in the conversation by either applauding or by walking out. Or by going to the bar and down the toilets. Because the conversation is boring.
Yeah.
But if the conversation on that stage is not boring, I will wait until party for 15 minutes there, who are the next people to come and have the next conversation. Don't want to mind out toilet. Because I don't want to miss the next conversation. So to answer your question, to improve live performances, it's just improve the conversations that you have on stage. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
So it means So it just means that you as musicians, so have a good conversation on stage through your lyrics, through your music, and through your creativity.
Well,
That's why now, stage, meaning that you've got a DJ and one guy singing.
Yeah.
You've got one guy egg. He's not having a conversation with other people, meaning that that conversation has got a very high chance of it being boring, unless you can reclaim on.
Of course. And that's usually
I love Ken. But I don't know if that makes sense. So a lot of times people get away with the fact that we then have a backing track, and then we have an artist and then now, because they've got that 1 or 2 songs that everybody sings along to, the people now are the ones that are singing along to his song, and he's not delivering the song.
Yeah.
We are just singing.
It's
one-sided. So the performance is never going to be like, I will watch this artist in the Blaui, and then I'm going to watch them in Harare, and I know the conversation is going to be different. The conversation is the same. If you watch that one act, the next time you watch them, maybe 2 years later, for you to watch a different or to listen in to a different conversation.
Yeah.
So it's the art of having good conversations on stage. That's basically what music is.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, because if I look people like Mtukudzi, when they are performing, they are telling a story. They are not going on stage to jump and say a word. Yeah. They are going there to tell a story. It's very different.
You're actually not invited for the episode that Holy Jen is coming.
No,
he's actually going to be a role for that episode.
I don't mind.
But there's a duty to curation that is coming out in this conversation. Where, for example, when I came last year, well, not when I came, because I've come to every Jacaranda since it started, but at Jacaranda last year, for example, Wari was on stage.
Yeah.
That was electric. It was
Yeah.
an electric part of that show. And in certain circles, he's become pretty big, but, mainstream wise, not so much.
Yeah.
And yet you are like, I'm going to put him on the bill. That's not because you're hoping that he's selling more tickets for you.
Yeah.
It's because you know that he's going to be part of the greater big experience that you're describing.
The big conversation. Yeah.
And I think the institution that did that first, at least in my experience, was Haifa.
Yeah.
For so long, I would go to Haifa every year, not because of who was coming to Haifa,
Yeah.
but because when I get to Haifa, I'm going to find some interesting people.
Yeah.
So, how much of that happens here with promotion, especially because it really does feel like we all know Wiki D is, when it comes to bringing the house down, it's almost second to none. Maybe there are a couple of people in his range, but it's almost second to none. How do you break out the new person? How do you go through the process of saying, you know what? I'm going to build a bill of people, and people are going to trust Jacaranda's outside of who's coming. People are going to trust that whoever Jacaranda brings are going to give me that great experience. Is that like a process?
Yeah, it's very much a process, because I think if you go and you do some research on who we've had on the Jacaranda stage from inception, you obviously, when you're starting out with events, you have to start out with who people know, and people are going to come out because so and so is on the lineup.
Yeah.
I think eventually you get to a point where you don't recognize any names on the Jacaranda stage, because that's exactly where we're going. We believe that there are so many artists out there, whether it's on the urban scene or whatever. It's a music festival. So because it's a music festival, it's not genre specific. We're gonna bring in anyone that makes music and is qualified to be on that stage. But for us, it's gonna be artists again that we believe are gonna be able to have good conversations for the people to enjoy. So it's definitely a situation equity. We're gonna have headliners that are not necessarily. So we want, I'll give you an example of an artist that is known in Zim, but may not necessarily be known to the rest of our neighboring countries. But in Zimbabwe, we regard them as good acts on stage. So I'll give you examples of, say, you've got Brian K, you've got Mbeu, you've got Feli Nandi, you've got Chaps, there's a long list of young, good musicians. But so as Yabunom Zimbabwe, if I mentioned those names to a guy from Kenya, he may not know who they are. But if I say to them, come and watch them live, they may not know who they are, but no, still, come watch. They're going to enjoy Feli Nandi's show. Of course. Even though they don't know her, they're going to be like, oh wow, I'm glad.
After you watch it,
I'm glad. But if you give them an option, come and watch the show based on these names, they're not going to know those names. So this is a Zimbabwean list that I've just given you. But there's also a Kenyan list like that.
I see.
Do you understand?
There's
also,
Kenya.
Exactly. There's a Mbeu in Ghana.
And in Uganda.
You understand? So if you look at Ghana, there are certain acts from Ghana that you're going to automatically think, I will bring for Jacaranda. Because they are the Japres of Jacaranda, of Ghana. They are the Winky D of Nigeria. So automatically, you're like, if I say there's a Nigerian act, if it's not that one, then why? But I want to bring in the Mbeu of Nigeria. You're not going to know the name,
but they're going
to come and kill it. They may even kill it bigger than the big one.
Of course, and
especially
in Nigeria.
Exactly.
Especially in Nigeria, you hear stories about there's so many acts that are primarily just in Nigeria. And they're touring Nigeria and they're massive.
So if we get to be a festival that only brings in big hip happening acts now, it means that we're actually gonna run out of acts to bring that you all know.
Yeah.
Because then we're gonna be like, Jacaranda yaku boa.
Yeah.
Why? Is because we really either can't afford them. So the minute you bring in those big acts, it means that it's either we're gonna bring in Friday we're gonna have Whiskey headlining, Saturday we're gonna have Burna Boy, Sunday we're gonna have Black Coffee.
Won't have to walk to interviews.
Bye. So because financially it's not feasible. And then if you bring in those acts, just those 3 acts alone can cost you 2 million to stage them.
Easy.
Take riders, hospitality riders, performance fees, flights, accommodation. It's a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But does it just having them as headliners on those 3 days, does it give the audience more value?
Yeah.
The answer is no.
No.
So we want to have a situation where we bring in Burna Boy before he's Burna Boy. And then you get to see, but you know what, guys? We saw this guy, Udara, and this is, eventually when he becomes big, then Live Nation can take him on.
But we had you
already. So we want to be able to kind of like educate the masses on what we feel are the next big acts, and we get them nice, early. We bring them. We curate artists that are from the region, African artists, all parts of the world, and we can be able to bring them onto the Jacaranda stage without you having to say, I'm only going to Jacaranda because exactly. So we will get to have a point where the lineup is people you don't know, but they'll be able to do what it's supposed do what they're supposed to do.
And I really hope that the time frame that we're talking is not a long time frame, because
we're getting there actually.
We really are, and you've already, like, Jacaranda's. This would be the 4th, 5th.
Yeah, this is not
the 4th,
6th.
The 6th Jacaranda. Yeah. And I have been going to, so maybe I haven't been to every Jacaranda, because I think I've been to 3 now. Meaning, at every Jacaranda, at every turn, the experience has been good.
Yeah.
And I think at a certain point we need to, start trusting you to be like, you know what? If
maybe this guy.
Yeah, if there's a guy called Yawo Tio from Malawi who's coming to perform, we trust that. But I was going to say, you've had the opportunity to look at this from the artist side, from the promoter side, organizing the shows, but also from the management side.
Yeah.
Managing, I think objectively the greatest artist that Zimbabwe has seen. Maybe it'll be for the taking in the future, but I think from where we stand right now, that is the greatest artist that we've seen. What was, like, is there like a difference in how you view the industry, having had that experience from one dimension and now having to look at it from a different side? Because now you're talking to managers and you're trying to get them to come. And they're being Walter, like, how you used to be before. When people are like, we want you to perform at 8, and it'll be just before this guy, and you're like, no, we don't perform before that guy.
Yeah.
We perform headline or whatever. Yeah. And now you have to deal with that conversation from the other side.
Yeah.
How's that experience been like for you?
I think you're talking about Dr.
Of course. Who did you manage? Who's in that conversation?
Victor Gunonga. I've managed Brian K.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I just need to make sure.
I wasn't familiar.
So we're talking about the doctor.
The doctor.
We're talking about the
okay. Yeah. So having managed Dr. Mtukudzi was probably one of the most, it was a privilege, huge honor and a privilege, because I've not, even with other artists that I've booked, and having, brought to Zim or wherever in South Africa, or wherever else that I've done events.
Yeah.
He's the one guy who was humble in the true sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have those issues. If we were told to perform at 10 o'clock, his whole thing was, as long as there's one person or 2 people in a room, we're going to perform and we're going to kill it. Because those 2 people came out to watch us. Yeah. So he never really worried about how many people are in the space and can I go on stage Mazara or can I go on stage when he wasn't bothered about audiences,
Audience
how
size.
big audiences, and he didn't, like there's audiences in now, that will say, if they perform for less than 10,000 people, it's a flop.
Yeah.
And then actually even media will even write no, this guy, he couldn't sell tickets, nah. So he never even thought about, what are people gonna say if I perform for 4 people and perform for 40,000 people? As long as they are people that came out to watch him perform, he'll play anytime, any stage, as long as it was a gig that he believed, he'll play.
Yeah.
And he looked at it also in the same way that he decided collaborations. So there are people that would be like, because I am so and so, I only collaborate with these type of artists.
Yeah.
So if you look at the history, or if you look at the people that Nzo collaborated with, there's some people that names that you never heard of in Zimbabwe, and you wonder what, how. Okay, it's like, how much do they pay? Because it has to be about money.
Yeah.
And most of these people never paid a cent. But if you just heard your song
and you liked it,
and you wanted to be part of the conversation.
Oh, it's about the conversation.
It's about the conversation.
It's not about the money.
It's not about the money.
Get this, Dennis. It's about the conversation.
Exactly. So which is what I was saying with the music is always a conversation.
Yeah.
So if you brought a conversation to him and you brought a song, a concert that made sense to him, he was gonna go for it. You call me and say, Walter, ndakenda ku Glenview because pane vandifonera vanhu vekumethodist vari kuita zvakati ndinonoridza ikoko. It wasn't because about kune vanhu vakawanda kana kuti kune bhegi rakawanda or whatever. It's because he wanted to be part of that conversation.
It was a good conversation.
Chichiri kuitika ikoko. So if he just liked zviri kuitika,
that explains the Geri tides.
All of those songs, all of his collaborations, it's because a lot of most of the times, it's conversations that he just wanted to be part of. So you just come in and say, this song yakati. Oh, okay. Yeah, what are you talking about? Because that's what you say. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Then say, I'm not talking about A, B, C, D. Okay, a song because of this situation. That's good. I've also got something to say
about that situation that you're describing.
You understand?
Now.
Saka born that been in the studio. You know Pabo.
And then
rest in peace.
And then when you listen to that song now, and you've listened to the Winky D and Tuku song, that's a good conversation.
That's a good conversation.
In fact, I think what makes that conversation so special was him passing on after that conversation was had.
You see,
and especially in the context of who they both are. In Zimbabwe.
So if you listen to any Tuku song, even when you listen to instruments, even when you listen to who played what song on what song, on his songs, recorded stuff, it's because those people on the bass had something to say in the conversation. So don't listen to his music and just listen to listen to each instrument. Like take time and actually listen to each instrument. Listen to percussions. Listen to, and also you listen to how it's mastered and mixed with the volume. So now I'm just and I have edit why I got Zikira because it's not the highlight.
It's not necessary for
you understand. But it's needed because but I'm not but you still want to know you want to know because
something was
because he felt it. Because can a person have that response? Then it means that
guy made how many albums? Just in total.
The ones that are released?
67. 67 albums.
Yeah. Oh wait, they're unreleased albums.
Yeah.
Wow.
So let's since we're now talking about the unreleased stuff. After such a career, what happens post his existence, right? Like, what do you do with the unreleased albums? Are you going to chop them up and get verses out?
With unreleased albums now, from where I'm sitting, because it's no longer there for him to give us more, you hold that stuff with the utmost care. Because that's the stuff that that's the only stuff that we have left that he can, that will be new, or stuff that, so
You don't wanna
just because people want to do stuff. We're gonna have to be a little bit very tactical, very careful about how it's then brought out, and when it's brought out, how it's packaged and all that kind of stuff.
I think
so.
Dr. Mtukudzi, one of the things that will always make a difference between him and anyone else, well, not anyone else, but one of the things that makes a very big distinction about him was he was able to leave a visible legacy. So we get to see his children be who they are. Yeah. We get to see Bakari Pai be what it is right now as a center. And it's a big concern because very often, people who are in the arts and entertainment spaces, they're good while they're good, and then once they start being good, it ends.
Yeah.
What is that like for his family and everyone?
I think that the family is they understand very much what they have.
Yeah.
In terms of continuing his legacy, and I think they've been doing a great job of making sure that it's protected and it's secure. But obviously people want to so we want more. So I think because he's no longer there, some of the stuff that family is going to do and the business is going to do, it's not going to be as quick as people want it to, but it's going to take time because now we're dealing with legacy projects. So when you talk of legacy projects, I'll give you examples where we need to have a museum, for instance, that is in honor of Tuku and Tuku music. Because Tuku and Tuku music are two totally different things. Tuku is the guy that created Tuku music. So there used to be a musician that honors Tuku music and the founder, and the actual person. So we need to have something like that is then curated properly, stories told accurately. How is that delivered? What kind of space do we build? Where do we build the space? And what kind of content is going to be in there? So there's going to be stuff like this, interviews and things like that with people that he knew, people that he. So all that's a big project on its own. That's just one. So we will have a lot of legacy projects. If you look at the first legacy project, it was very much in tune with health and good food and stuff that is that's going to be just beneficial health wise. It wasn't very much like publicly there, but he was very much aware of that. So that's one thing that we initially started doing, and I think it's on its third year running now. We started a marathon. So marathon obviously has got positive health implications. So we've got the Oliver Mtukudzi marathon that happens every January, and at Pagarepai, third year running. We started off with about 500 runners. Last year we had about 1,200 runners. It's growing. So that in itself is something that we then decided to put together and do in his honor. So because in the audience, when Oliver was performing, there were people like you and me. There were doctors in there. There were politicians in there. There were lawyers in there. There were other musicians. There were people that love soccer. There were people that are in love with golf. So there are a lot of people that have got other passions outside of the fact that we were all brought together under one roof, loving Tuku and Tuku music. So what we do now is we also now take those people. So if there's a bunch of lawyers, or if there's a bunch of golfers, for example, that are Tuku lovers, the next legacy project is a Tuku Golf Day. So you basically have a whole bunch of people that get together to do what they love, which is golf, in the name of Oliver Mtukudzi. Then we infuse the music, we infuse Tuku music so that golfers can do what they love to do, which is play golf in memory of Tuku. Because now they can't go to a Tuku show, but they still have something that they love to do. Same reason why we've got the marathon. We've got people that love Tuku music. They used to go to shows, but when they were at the show, you don't know, they don't come there wearing their marathon gear. But they're marathon runners. Do you understand? So we're trying to put together those kind of events because we know that we can't do the one thing that brought us all together, which is have Tuku on stage and have the doctors in the show, have the marathon runners in the show, have the golfers in the show.
Yeah.
We really can't do that as well as we used to do it with him. So now, I don't know if what I'm explaining makes sense. So it means that now we have these different
different pockets.
different pockets of
them.
we celebrate Tuku doing the other things that we love.
Yeah.
So for example, we can have Oliver Mtukudzi bikers rally. Why not?
There was no
For
way.
those people
There
that love-
was no
for
way.
those people that love
we're going
bikes.
to end this conversation without you talking about your favorite bikes.
Yeah.
I want to change to invaders now 0%.
Cool. Okay. I think we cut it off at a good bike.
How long have we been going for?
Just under an hour.
Oh,
Yeah.
Just a little bit early.
Like
so now we're about to finish.
Yeah, we're about
Good power, that's
Too
weird,
many
bro.
white words that you're saying in one time to describe something that you do with other white people. Like, why is this happening?
It seriously is therapy
Yeah.
for me. So, bikes, I got into bikes by accident. A friend of mine, white friend of mine,
Of course.
they had a farm in Headlands.
Yeah.
On your way to Rosapit. So they had a farm, and I was there, school holiday, and Papras, there's a lot of bikes.
Yeah.
And for you to get around, because we're not just chilling school holidays, we had to, help out on the farm and whatever. So but to get around the farm, you had to use a bike.
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to ride a bike.
Of course.
So it was the
But a
first.
dirt bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
So I learned how to ride back then, and I fell in love with bikes and the freedom that it gives and the thrill, the fun of it. Eventually I could afford to buy a bike, and I bought.
And you could afford to buy some nice bikes. So every time I go and see Walter, he has a different bike. And it's nicer than the last one that I saw. And I'm like, ooh, I should organize festivals. But anyway, story for another day. Back to your actual real job, because I feel like this is a hobby, and
I have a job.
It's great that you get that therapy.
Yes.
But
I
like,
work.
sometimes. But you must have, I think, of all the things that you've done, we didn't even talk about tech tools and all your other incredible businesses, your media agency. But of all the things that you've done, I think the most exciting would have been the work that you did again with the Good Doctor.
Other doctor.
Which other doctor?
Dr. Hugh Masekela?
Oh, okay. I guess let's talk about that doctor.
He was also-
was that he was a doctor? Also?
Yeah, he was like doctor, 5 doctors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So the nature of this, you must think of such a big name to just drop in the water.
Sorry, bro, but I thought that's what you meant.
No, I just meant the Good Doctor because we've been talking about.
Oh, sorry.
Dr. Tugu
No.
before.
I thought you were talking about the other doctor.
Oh, there's another one, the third one.
Yeah.
The guy behind the doctors.
Okay, but with Dr. Masekela, you got to interact with him on a much closer, level than most people get to.
Yeah, another privilege.
Another massive privilege.
Yeah.
What was that like? What are the best stories?
Now you see, Brayu and Dr. Mtukudzi, like yin and yang.
Like this.
But they're so different. They did they achieved almost the same. In the different countries, they hold the same kind of weight.
Yeah.
They respected the world over, but they're so different in who they were in character as people. And I was so privileged to have worked with both of them so closely.
Yeah.
I managed to see why this one was successful in what he was, and why the other one was also successful. And yet they were opposites.
They took different routes.
Like Sekutu never drank in his life.
In his life?
Yeah, like never.
That's crazy.
But Brayu, wow.
Let's go. Let's go.
There's certain things that, he was that guy. But at the same time, they were all both successful in success. and we could sit and talk for hours
Possibly, but there's a story that you've told about a time where he came to Zim, expecting to surprise Dr.
That's actually when I met him.
Oh, was that the first time
That's the first time I met him. So the first time I met him, Mtukudzi was going on tour to the States.
Yeah.
But you had just finished performing at Joy of Jazz Festival in Joburg. And he came with the organizer of Joy of Jazz, which is Peter Clark.
Yeah.
And they bumped into Mtukudzi at OR in South Africa.
Yeah.
You know, in the lounge.
Yeah.
The one is going to America, the other is coming to Zim. Oh my God. Where are you going?
Yeah.
Like, where are you going? I'm going to Zim. What are you going to do in Zim? I'm coming to you. So I was like, oh my God, I'm not there.
I'm on tour.
I'm on tour. I'm going on tour to the States. Why didn't you call? Surprise. So anyways, what ended up happening was that he was with Sam Ataure, who was managing him at the time.
Yeah.
And I got a call, and it's Sam on the phone, and Sam says to me, hey, I'm here with the Sekuru, can you do us a favor and look after a guest for us that's coming to Zim?
Oh, so this is before you were managing Dr. Mtukudzi.
Yeah, this is before I was managing. Sam was managing him at the time. And I was like, oh, what's this guy coming to do? I was like, no, he's just coming to chill. So just pick him up at the airport, take him to a hotel. He hasn't booked a hotel.
Yeah.
So book somewhere for him. And I was like, okay, where is? And I was like, okay, can you book for him at the Mikos?
Okay.
So I was like, okay. And I went to Mikos, booked 2 rooms, executive suites, I was told.
Yeah. Under instruction.
Yeah. So we booked a hotel for him. I used to have this little blue Mazda Demio. I don't know if you ever saw that car.
No.
You never saw that, right?
I came when you were already in the Benzo.
Ah.
You were already in the Benzo.
I used to have this small little blue Mazda Demio. That was my car. But the boot was amps and subwoofers. So there was no space in the boot. And so I went to where I'm going to pick up. I went to the airport, and then I was given a phone number.
Yeah.
I get there, I call. Actually, I got the call before I got, because I was late. I got the call. We're here. You're coming to pick us up. I was like, no, I'll be there just now. I got there, and I see it's Hugh Masekela. I'm like, okay, this is interesting, you know. So, anyways, he wasn't happy about the car. And the fact that
there's some movers in the back.
in the back, and he had to sit in the back seat with his horn and his bag. Yeah, it was time on. Anyways, we spent about 7 days together. Yeah. And it was the most epic. And
you're spending these days, and Tuku's not in Zim.
Tuku's not Zim.
So it's you and
you, Masekela, and Peter Schlag. So it was epic.
I can imagine.
It was epic. So since that time, that's how I knew him 13 years, you know, until he passed away. But we became very good friends. He became a business partner. Yeah. We did a couple projects together, recorded some albums where him and I were executive producers. Other artists, not his artists. And then some of the artists he would feature on as well. Worked well with Victor Kunonga. I was managing Victor at the time.
I see.
Victor also managed to produce some of Hugh Masekela's music at the same time. Yeah. Believe it or not, he's an amazing producer. Yeah. So we also started a group called Shy Shy. We produced that group, and they performed the Joy of Jazz sold out show. 30,000 people.
30,000 people.
Yeah.
Stadium.
Yeah. So and 30,000 people, and the first time we did that is we had Tuku as a band member. In the band, and we did Masekela. We did Masekela as a band member as well.
Oh wow! So who was lead?
It was 4 ladies that are literally. It was Prince Katomeni Mufana.
Oh wow!
As a lead singer, there's
Mama Biz.
Yeah. Rumbi was also there. So the project came out of a project that Masekela and I wanted to do with Choniso. But Choniso passed away before we could do that project. So we then made a plan to come up with other women that we're going to kind of do the same project, the essence of the project. But then we gave them a backing band, and the backing band is the one that had Hugh Masekela in as playing horn. We had Cameron Wood as a guitarist, insane. We had Sam Matari as the drummer. Victor Kunonga was playing percussion.
Wow.
Nomi Masamba on second guitar, Tuku on acoustic guitar, with 4 women singing in front, playing bira and workshop. It was that was the band.
I think we shouldn't get past the fact
Oh, Fana Zulu on bass.
I think we shouldn't get past the fact that you just described a band that had Prudence, Kachomana Bofana as one of the lead.
Yeah.
It had Tuku, Hugh Masekela, and all these people as
a
part
band.
of the band.
Yeah, they were not even the front people.
Man.
It was probably one of the most insane projects I've worked on.
Yeah.
And I've got footage of it. Both. It's incredible.
Do you want to share?
For a chat? And they only performed once.
Do you want to share for a chat?
We'll talk about that.
But I have a question. You're talking about these artists, like when you meet Hugh, who was on his way to Togo, who was on his way to a tour.
Yeah.
But our big artists these days, they don't even do tours. I was talking to Chachi this other day and I was like, this other South African artist, Mr. Keys, is on a world tour right now. He's in Miami right now, doing his tour. But you've never had a Japanese having a tour. You've never had a Wikiti having a tour. When they're having a tour, they're performing in classrooms, in church rooms. And this one big artist was performing in a classroom and failed to fill a classroom. So I'm like, how can these big artists go? Why are they not going on a tour? Why can't?
I just read this morning, actually, before I got here, on eGround. I think Japanese is going on his first German tour. He's never performed, I think, in Germany. He's going on his first tour. So that possibly is your answer. They are touring now.
There's a difference when, like, with Dr.
No, I get what you mean. Yeah. You're touring, but you're not performing to a Zimbabwean audience. You're not performing to a Zimbabwean diaspora.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think this particular one is possibly one of those where you're now going to have our Zimbabwean artists starting to perform on stages that don't necessarily have 98% Zimbabweans. And I think that's what we need to do to start also penetrating different markets. Because Zimbabwe is possibly, including the diaspora, with undocumented ones, maybe Taku tweet, or the world over.
Maybe more, man.
Maybe more, you understand?
I think we probably have 2 million Zimbabweans in South Africa.
Yeah.
We might have 500,000 Zimbabweans in the UK. That's 2.5 million. After buttons in Australia, US.
So our numbers are not that great.
Yeah.
So if an artist is aiming to just reach the Zimbabwean audience, it's too small a target. So I guess the answer to that is to start touring and performing to different audiences. You have to look at your product and say, is my product also going to appeal to an international audience or to a different audience? But if you are going to talk or have conversations that only appeal to Zimbabweans, remember we spoke about music being a conversation. If you're going to have conversations that only appeal to Zimbabweans, then it means that you're possibly not going to be attractive to people that are not Zimbabweans because they don't know what you're talking about in your music. And it doesn't necessarily mean good to sing in English as well. Because remember what I said with conversations in music, yes, you have the conversation where I am speaking a language that you understand, because you speak Shona or you speak Ndebele or you speak Chinese. But then also music is about me being on my guitar and I'm saying what I'm saying through my instruments. That's why you have music that is mood music and you play and it makes you feel a certain way. It's not about the lyrics. It's about also you carefully putting together music that makes sense to someone that is listening to it and they're connected to that music and they're listening to that conversation based on the fact that your music is arranged in a certain way and you play your instrument in a certain way and it's a conversation that resonates with whatever audience, even though they don't understand the lyrics of the songs. A good example is Mokompa.
Yes.
They play music that you and I don't even understand, and we are Zimbabweans. And they're playing down the road. Just in case you haven't seen them, they're playing down the road on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I don't understand a single word of they say. What that they sing, what that they're saying when they're singing. But I feel the music and I understand the conversation. So it's about intent in making sure that I am putting out content or I'm putting out conversations or music that also is going to transcend a person that is just listening. Because a lot of times to Taura, and we're using one language, which is what the mouth and language that you speak, which is either Ndebele, English, Shona, or Patois.
That brings me to a question like when the guys like Bundu Boys, the new Tory, Bundu Boys, when they went to the UK versus the current Bundu Boys, these guys were calling them Bundu Boys. When they go to UK, they are two different things. And even when we are still actually was playing Mpira, there will be a ground full of white people vibing to the music, and it's different from the music.
I hear you. Don't go any further. I get you. But so the second part to that question is that it's also about the team that you have. So you will need to also have a team of people that handle your bookings, your tours, people that are in that market. So you need people that sell your product to that particular market. So for example, I'll tell you, Kuti, with Segutuku, we had an agent that was dealing with Africa and the rest of Africa. I was not the booking agent, by the way. I was a manager, but I was not a booking agent. We had an agent that was responsible for his bookings within Africa. We had an agent that was responsible for his bookings in the UK, Asia, and in the States and Europe. So when you now focus on the European market, then there's someone else who's focusing on the American market. Then there's someone else focusing on the African market, someone focusing on the Asian market. So a lot of these artists don't actually have booking agents that have them signed. So I don't want to teach one. But the industry doesn't work like that. So there's festivals like Jacaranda that are happening in Sweden, that are happening in Germany, that are happening in the UK. But Wanyanya don't know you. Do you get what I mean? So we may have a booking agent in Zimbabwe, so he could be an agent for European artists in Africa. So he's booking artists that are European based, but he's booking them in Africa because he knows Kutukune Jacaranda. But then he represents that guy that is in the Czech Republic. The guy in the Czech Republic, the manager, can't book Jacaranda because he doesn't know, and he doesn't. Who the phone number ni young, the relationship ni. That's the flip side. I don't know if that makes sense.
It's making a lot of sense.
Yes. So he now can be a booking agent for 20 European artists, but based in Africa, because he's African, he's on the ground, he's got contacts with the different festival directors. So for us as Zimbabweans, we need to now find the Dennis of Europe that can get you on the European stages, because I'm Europe, that guy. It's not you, because you don't have you can call and say, guy, I'm the manager for the biggest artist in Zimbabwe. They don't care. And you don't know how to sell. But who has got a relationship, like Anfonena uses his nephew,
Uncle Walter.
There's this guy that I have from Europe. He's always on about K-Chaps. Like, doesn't
so
stop. But
we're about to get an exclusive.
So
I feel like we're about to get an exclusive.
So for that, because I may not understand what's going on with K-Chaps. He may not be in my radar, but he's in my radar. Do you understand? So sometimes you think because you're an artist, automatically Walter should know about me. But I'm not your fan. I don't know nothing about you. So you can't assume as an artist, because you are big, do you understand? No, that's not how it works. And because you're big doesn't mean every festival promoter or every festival booker knows you. They don't. So you need someone that then speaks on your behalf. So even if you are artist A and you are big in Zim, and the speaker and music, if you call me directly, I may not listen to you based on the fact you've got and talk Ziva. I don't know my friends, but Nini, I'm not your fan, so I don't know you. Do you understand? So not talking about one, but also on your behalf, I listen to them. So example, him, Arnold, so and so, so and so, so and so. We know what you're doing. We understand what you're doing. This would be a good act to have. Then we're like, okay, tell me more. Now I'm listening. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So our artists also need to develop relationships with the right people that are outside of Zimbabwe, that are not Zimbabweans, but that are in the music space, in the music and the creative economy, because it is an ecosystem. Do you understand? I wouldn't come here if he hadn't called. If it was someone else that called, I would have been like, guys, funny and ruby time. Do you understand? So relationships are very key. So relationships have to be developed. There's nothing that we really, I can't reiterate more than relationships will open doors for you more than your ability or your talent. So you can be as talented as you want, you can have whatever, but if you're not very good with relationships, then you're not gonna go far. Because people arrive in Kurubinza. They really get to a point because you're on every blogger's page, because you're on every radio station in Zimbabwe, because every paper is written about you and all the girls are in your DMs, then what the pizza? You're actually just starting.
You understand?
So relationships are key, and also understanding markets. The reason why all of you decide to go for a Canon camera and then Lumix and whatever is because the guys behind these products did market research and said, okay, how do we get these cameras in the hands of the people that are in Africa, not just in the hands of where they are made? Because if you're just looking at your friends and your people in the neighborhood as the target market, you know what I mean? You're not really going to reach that pinnacle unless you're just happy being a superstar in Zim. Then you're just a neighborhood artist. Really, you're not a world-class artist. You're just there. And some people are happy also being superstars in Zim, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's success in its own right.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make a living.
Yeah, we can all think that so and so should be
there and
international. But what to hey, so I don't mind your business. So at the end of the day, we may want more, but we can't push them. If they decide to move, and then we also now come and support, which is where we have to play our part. If someone decides, guys, I want to be on the world stage, and us as Zimbabweans now can back that particular person, back that particular artist, and we can push them to say, okay, we're gonna be there to support a fellow Zimbabwean who is now on the Coachella stage, who is now on, playing,
Rocking the Daisy.
Rocking the Daisy. You understand? So it's that kind of thing. So,
but given that the catalog that you have, like people that you've worked with, is there an upcoming manager or an upcoming artist? I have no advice from Basia, or they're just.
So this is what we do.
What's that about to get like that? Can people read you like that?
If you Google my name, guess what else you will find?
My phone number. Fair.
My phone number. You will find it there.
Yeah.
And I will answer.
Yeah.
So I'm doing about my social media, my DM is wide open.
Yeah.
But
They do come. There's a few. I can't say that they don't. There's a few that do come. But what I've discovered and what I've decided to do is going on top of what Dennis was talking about with Jacaranda Music Festival coming up in October. What we've done is we have created a platform for artists to learn more and not to learn. If you're learning from me, because what I say may not be valuable because I'm Zimbabwean, and we know each other. What can Walter know?
Sorry to cut you, but can I just mention that the business conference that you're talking about now, last year featured the programming manager of Metro FM, biggest station in South Africa. They had the organizers of Bushfire Festival. Like the caliber of people at that event was incredible.
Yeah.
And yet I sat there, and I mean, it was fully attended, but I also looked at the people that I like, and I'm like, where are those people and why are they not listening?
So that's a very, that's a very good way of putting it, because now people will inbox me or DM me, Walter, to my festival and whatever. I'm like, but for Jacaranda, for the workshops, forget about the performances, for the workshops, and we advertise, and it's free.
Yeah,
and we even feed you.
Literally.
You understand? So it's free, and we will have 2 days of workshops. And I think we had 18 international guests. And when I say international, I mean, like what you said, the guy who started Bushfire Festival was there. For 7 days he was in the country.
I spoke to him, we had a conversation.
And a lot of people had access to him, but a lot of artists in Zimbabwe want to play at Bushfire, but they will never come to the workshops to have a conversation and develop a relationship. Do you get what I mean? So how do you get booked at Bushfire but you want to go to the Bushfire social media page, you want to go to their DMs, and you want to send a message to someone you don't know. Are they going to reply?
And they don't even know you.
But yet we fly these people for you. Yeah. Bring them into the country. A human being which you can talk to face. Guys, I represent K-Chaps. Yeah. I represent Mukumba. I represent so-and-so. I represent so-and-so. I would love them to come and perform at your festival. Yeah. Oh, do you know what? We are rehearsing down the road. Do you want to watch them rehearse? You'd rather have me call that guy on your behalf. I don't know if that you know what I mean? So the reason why I say these artists arrive is because when we do these conferences, they don't come to the conference because I'm big, my guy.
I can come to it.
I can't come to those because it's cheap. So because they've arrived, and also because their managers also are not doing their job. So let's say maybe it's not the artist that's supposed to be there, but at least let's get the artist managers or the team that's behind our artists to come to conferences. We're talking Zim. There's nothing wrong with, and these conferences are happening weekly somewhere in Africa. Literally. There's a conference, a music conference like the one we're doing in October. Something is happening every week somewhere in Africa. So it's like $1,000 per side, which is what some guys will charge. So take $1,000, Mobuga, an agent or a manager, and then you go to the music in Bizo happening in Durban. And then you go and sell your artist there. The artist doesn't have to go. Manager goes, flies there, you book your accommodation, go to the whole conference. All these conferences will have 60, 70 people like Walter who run festivals at the conference. That run different festivals, different shows. I'm still answering your question.
And I'm getting...
You understand?
Yeah. So
it is so easy to sell yourself to the international market. But the problem is we are waiting because but Zimbabwe. I don't know if that makes sense.
You're a big deal, but
so we're waiting for people to discover us.
Yeah.
Yet we should also be actually going to the market. Yeah. And so basically what I'm saying and what I'm describing is there are music trade fairs. Like how we have the ZITF, right? But there's also ZITF for music that are happening throughout the world. And literally every week in Africa, there's a trade fair happening that is music related, where our local acts can sell themselves to these spaces so that they can start performing outside of Zoom.
And it always makes such a big difference if you can actually be there in person.
Yes.
I remember, funny enough.
And before I forget,
Yeah.
another thing is most of these places are also very big on knowing what they're gonna book. Because if I book you as a live performer, what actually am I gonna get? So we have a situation where a lot of artists are big into making music videos, but they're not big into making performance videos. So okay, performance here, what does performance here, Dennis and the Four Brothers, what does that look like?
Like the video.
The video of that. So if I book you and I put you on my stage, what does it look? You can't send me a video that you put on MTV Base, with the cars and with the girls,
The ladies.
because that's not the performance. Do you get what I mean? So I need to be able to see Guti. Remember also you're trying to sell yourself to someone who doesn't know you. But then they need to be able to visually see Guti, okay, cool. When you book this act from Zerm, this is what it's gonna be. So I encourage also artists to make sure that they have performance videos. So videos and visuals that give you a picture of, okay, if we're looking at that DJ set that we're talking about, me and a DJ, and it doesn't have to be a lot of videos, It's literally 1 minute. If I watch you for 1 minute, I will know whether I want you on my stage or not.
Won't take much.
Do you understand? So it's a 1 minute clip. It's a 1 minute clip of the first, option, which is DJ and you. Second minute is acoustic set, you and maybe acoustic guitarist and maybe drummer and full band set. All those three, and I'll be able to say, you know what, this is the option that I want. So a lot of our guys also don't have that, and they've phone footage from the girlfriend. I would. So it needs to be, you're booked to perform at Jacaranda. I have no issues whatsoever. If I book you to play on my stage, you can say, Walter, I have these guys that are coming to record me perform at Jacaranda. They're gonna come and they're just gonna film his performance. That's how you're gonna gather the Don't also wait and say, Asha, you need the iPhone 15. But spend another grand so that you have a team of people that will come and your goal is for you to get literally one song that is recorded well, audio, that is recorded well visually. That's the one song that you're gonna use to sell yourself.
Yeah.
So there's some people who don't the same. But you've been recommended. But how do you now? You can't be saying that I go to my social media. My social media, actually, you're an artist. It's full of pictures.
It's like a mod.
But you're not a model. I was just saying.
These are your jokes. What do you mean? And we're laughing at you.
You make it seem like the ones that
No, that's what you do, but that's fine. That's okay. It's okay. You've already done the interview now. We have the footage.
But I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. It absolutely makes sense, and I think because we went through this, so I was part of the process of trying to understand. Like, you get an artist, and you're like, "This is a great artist," but what am I going to get on that day? And
so what did our blast book this artist? Don't write born. I don't know you. I don't know this artist.
Yeah.
And why are you saying I should book him?
Yeah.
So at least if I watch, I don't want a music video.
Yeah. No, of course, because that's
it doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But speaking of big stages, and I only asked for an hour of your time. We've obviously gone about that already. But what's the next big stage, Uncle Walter?
The next big stage?
Yeah, like is it Drake? Are you bringing Drake next? I've been talking about Drake, and I feel
are you trying
at
to
some point?
No.
At some point,
I'm not bringing Drake in the near future. Okay. Unless something changes in the next 5 hours.
In the next 5 hours?
Yeah,
Okay.
But you never know.
You never know.
But yes, we do have Jacaranda is going to be big. Jacaranda is going to be big. We're already knee deep in planning for that. I was in South Africa to do the last UB40 show on Saturday, but the other reason why I was there is for me to finalize the bookings for the South African act.
Yeah.
But we also working this year with the Spanish embassy. And we're going to bring in, artists from Spain. From a production perspective, they're coming for the workshops for production.
Oh, cool.
They're coming also to do performances with Zimbabwean acts, and we're going to be bringing some British sound engineers.
Okay.
So I'm huge, besides just that, besides the performance aspect of Jacaranda, because I think our industry needs to grow. And when I say industry, I mean we need to actually start having an industry. And we also need to start showing people, Guti, as much as I love music, like again, for me, I love playing bass, but I don't think I was meant to be playing bass for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I then had to find my space within the creative economy and be able to do what I need to do, which is what I'm doing now. If I continued playing bass, I don't think I would be as effective.
Funny,
I think I'll be alright.
You played with Prime Circle at their last show.
Yeah.
If you kept playing bass, maybe that would have been harder to do. Maybe this is the easiest way to get to play with Prime Circle is you invite them on your ticket and you're
then no, but
if I don't perform, I'm not paying you guys.
That's not how it happened. They asked me to play because they found out that I'm a bass player.
Oh, right.
And yeah. So that's how I got to play with them,
Yeah.
which was fun.
It was dope. It was nice to watch as well. I was at that show.
So you thought I couldn't play? Oh, but you knew.
I know authentic. We didn't even get to that. We'll talk about that the next time you come.
Yeah, but my point is, you're distracting me. My point is, I think for Jacaranda, it's important that we also get creatives. Because I think in this room right now, we've got a lot of creatives that love music. But sometimes because we love music, we think that because I love music, I have to be on stage performing, being a superstar. And a lot of artists as well are trying to be artists on stage. But your love for music doesn't necessarily mean that perform the music. It means that also maybe manage an artist. It means maybe, get into the tech, sound, stage, lights industry. And understand that.
I have a good friend of mine who talks about scoring in movies. I'm supposed to know what that is.
Exactly.
Right. It's this is another thing that you see. His name is Aniwuni, right outside.
Yeah. So scoring in itself is you're still being a creative. You're still being a musician, but you're not producing pop.
Yeah.
But Hans Zimmer is possibly one of the most iconic, successful. Your friend will tell you who Hans Zimmer is, just in case you don't know.
I have no idea.
He's a god. You understand? He's a god. And a lot of people like Jay-Z who worship the ground that Hans Zimmer walks on because he's that big.
Yeah.
But for us, he's not, because Atimo Zive, do you understand? But the music that he makes is incredible.
Yeah.
But he chose to go the scoring route rather than to produce a song that's going to be on MTV.
Yeah.
But it's still music, you understand? So there's music for different spaces, music for different use. But a lot of our producers, they may not understand, Guti, I am a producer, but I'm not supposed to be producing for the next Zim Dance or Act. I'm supposed to be producing for the next big movie. You understand? So how do we now then merge to have filmmakers that think about scoring from the word go, not about music when they've already shot the movie.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, bruh.
There's so much.
There's a lot. So the guys,
so
there's a lot of guys that are, so when you talk of, love for film, and we talk of wardrobes. So there's a lot of artists that I watch perform and I'm like, I'm over a t-shirt again. The same t-shirt that he sleeps in, they're gonna perform in.
The show is a stylist.
So there's a lot of people that are passionate about music and they're passionate about dressing musicians. They're not passionate about dressing you and me because what they make doesn't look good on, Panama spotlights.
Yeah.
So the kind of clothes, if you lift your hands, it looks like there's wings and nonsense like that. But there are people that make clothes, there are people that make specifically for that.
Yeah.
So, but the sooner we realize that these are all cogs in the machine, And the minute that we start involving all these creatives to then make the whole thing work, the more exciting it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Because now Rinky doesn't think about his outfit, his next outfit. I don't know what one right. This is what you're wearing. And it means that the guys that are doing, clothes, they also do it. And Rinky also will have the money to pay for these outfits. Because now, it's all covered. So makeup and things like that. That's art in itself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
for sure.
I don't know, but I don't know if I'm putting my
No, you're like if we're letting you talk, it's because we're listening. Otherwise it'll be like anyway, so
yeah.
So I need an exclusive.
An exclusive?
Yeah. I want to give an exclusive right now.
I don't have exclusive.
No, I'm gonna give you an exclusive to give you.
Oh, okay.
Just so Jacaranda is from the 8th to the 10th of October this year.
Yeah.
8 to 10. The business conference. Anyway, from the 8th to the 10th, meaning on the 6th to the 7th is going to be the business conference usually.
Yeah.
It's usually 2 full days.
Yeah.
Tell us someone who's performing on that stage this year.
This year?
Yeah.
An exclusive?
An exclusive.
Who can I tell you? No, I don't Zani. Who was it that he was talking about earlier? The hip hop artist?
Wanyanya.
No.
Oh.
The American. Drake. No, Drake's not performing.
That's not an exclusive. This guy is going to tell. The exclusive is who's not performing.
Yeah, Drake is not. You just whisper Drake.
You guys heard it here first. No, only Taylor is still talks. Drake is definitely not going to be performing at Jacaranda this year. Walter, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
I used way more of your time than I asked for, but I really appreciate it.
You are abusing me, but it's all good.
Baby. So,
cheers.
I think you got any message about my users.